Active Grandparenting 101, Section 1, Section 4. This is really important. This is where we talk about navigating conflict, and it's inevitable. There's going to probably be some conflict in your relationship with your children at some point during your grandparenting journey. So I want to make sure you are armed with a lot of information to help you avoid conflict. Well, at all costs, really. Our goal should always be to make things easy for our kids and to not engage when our children may lose their tempers, or we may feel like losing our tempers. So we're going to do a little bit of role play here in this section, and I hope you find it as valuable as I do. But you're going to find yourself in one of these situations at some point because family dynamics are really ingrained in us. And the more that we can learn new tools for dealing with our family dynamics, the easier life becomes for all of us. So today's parenting styles can be really confusing. There's a lot of new ways of doing things that are very different than the way we parented ourselves. And again, remember, we already had our chance to parent. We are in a new role as grandparents. And in that role, our boss is really our kids. So we want to let them lead and we want to follow in ways that support them. But if we have questions, we're asking along the way. We're not waiting until something happens. So there's a lot of new parenting styles, and we need to ask our kids why they choose to do it this way or that way so we can understand. Because remember, it all comes down to communication. So we want to be open communicators. We don't want to be frustrated. Guess what? Your kids and your grandkids will pick up on your frustration. So we want to learn how to handle situations by acknowledging that every generation gets a chance to do it their way. And our approach may have been different, and asking so that we can participate from a place of inclusion, and our children get to share their knowledge with us, and we get to learn how to be the best grandparents we can be, because being great grandparents means we're working with parents to do this job. So handling things like criticism and negative comments, if you have a concern about how your grandchildren are being raised, instead of voicing a criticism, you really want to lead with curiosity and maybe say, I notice you handle this specific situation a certain way. Can you share a little bit more with me about why you do that, about how that benefits the child? Because when we understand these parenting trends, they start to make sense for us. It's easier for us to follow our children's instructions. Now, I can tell you, my husband struggles with a lot of this. He is very reactive. He gets very excited. And our daughter does a great job with him of saying, we don't say that's dangerous. We talk about consequences or something like that. So it's just really important to ask questions about the why so we can support our children in the way they want to be supported. And that comes with respecting boundaries and rules. This is non-negotiable. You may disagree with some of the rules your children have set for your grandchildren, but it's your job as a grandparent to follow those rules. Now, I know many grandparents do things a little differently when the grandchildren are in their own homes, and that's between you and your child. But when you are grandparenting, your primary role is to follow your children's instructions as to how they want their children raised. Again, you had your turn. So it's just really important to use good communication and demonstrate respect for the authority, which is your children, to prevent conflict. And I want to tell you, Nothing ticks parents off more than grandparents who don't follow the rules. So you don't want to be on your child's naughty list. Now let's talk about another hot button topic, advice. We have been parents. We know a lot of stuff, but we've got to be really careful about how we offer advice. Seriously, people, think twice before you offer advice. Your first line should always be, do you want to know how we did it? I mean, are you interested in knowing, how we handled this when I was a parent? And if your child says no, zip it. Your job, remember, is to support your children in their parenting journey. You had your chance. You've already been a parent. You're in a new role too. You're a grandparent. And that means you follow your children's lead. So, no offering unsolicited advice without first offering to find out if your children want it or not. Manage your emotional reactions. So you might feel upset about a parenting decision or comment your child makes, and always give yourself a timeout before responding. I, on several occasions, have just walked into another room, taken a deep breath, let it go, because it's more important to be right with the people in our lives than to be right about something. And then I've come back and said, I just need a moment with this, and let's discuss it when emotions aren't running so high, because I really want to make sure that we're on the same page with all of this stuff. And I really want to make sure I'm supporting you. Here's a tough one, repeated conflicts. If there's a specific issue that keeps causing tension, such as differing views on discipline, how to handle is, you've got to say, I know we disagree on this, whatever the issue is. And can you explain why it's important to you so that we can find some common ground? Because I really want to be able to support you and let you know that I'm here for you. Okay. So it all comes back to this chapter on communication. This is all about how we communicate with our kids about how they're parenting and about their expectations of us as grandparents and about how we proceed given that information. We also need to set some boundaries on unsolicited advice. Really, we should know better at this point, but sometimes something slips. And if you've made a mistake and you know it, please get out in front of it. It is time to get out with an apology and say, all right, I did it again. Or you're right. I posted a picture again on Instagram that I wasn't supposed to post. And I am so sorry. It won't happen again. We have got to fall on our sword when we make a mistake. We are teaching our children how to handle it when they make mistakes, and that will show our grandchildren how to handle things if they make a mistake. There's a lot of generational learning that happens when we become grandparents. We are not only grandparents, we are teaching our children how to be grandparents. So this is the time in our lives where we need to step back and realize we're in this whole new role, and that we have got to respect the new parent's space, and show self-awareness and accept their answer, even if we don't like it. Um, how do we how do we deal with perceived overstepping? And if a parent or their partner expresses discomfort in our involvement in certain decisions, we need to acknowledge their feelings and we need to mind our own business. Because if you keep pushing, if you keep wanting to be right, even if you disagree with the parenting style, what it will do is create a barrier between you and your child and the parent, your child's partner, that could create a situation where you get less time with your grandchildren. So it's really important to have those clear boundaries, which is where we started in this chapter. We started with boundaries. We started with communication. We started with respect. These are very important tools for active grandparenting. And it frees us because we are not the parents. We are free to just come in and do this job with our grandchildren to the best of our abilities and then step away, um, and navigating disagreements that don't resolve. And this is the time to bite the bullet, because sticking with your position isn't going to get you anywhere. We've got to bite the bullet. We've got to agree to disagree respectfully. We've we've got to grandparent in the way our parents want us to. And I know that can be hard to accept for some grandparents, but this is the kind of approach that helps maintain family harmony when there are differing views. And this is not always going to be rainbows and butterflies. There can be some real life challenges that happen in our relationship with our children when we are jumping into our role as grandparents. And the more we embrace clear communication and healthy boundaries, and we know our place and we know when to step back, the easier this is going to be. And the more we can sympathize and empathize with parents who are on the front lines doing this job, and letting them know that we support them and we're not challenging them, the easier this will be for everybody. So navigating conflict is a tough one. There are some more resources that I will put in your resources guide. There is a program that's hosted by the Grandparent Academy on conflict resolution for grandparents and parents, and that can be a very helpful tool for parents who are dealing with much bigger family dynamic issues. But navigating conflict is an important one, and we've given you a lot of tools here that are really going to help you as you continue your grandparenting journey.